Hey everybody, back with another video, and this one I was planning to kind of do. I wanted to measure some voltages on the back of the neck board. There's a thread on KLOV where some Richard called me out saying, no, literally his name's Richard, but he called me out saying I didn't know what I was talking about, and I didn't. But between doing the CR7000 field test, which I'll link to here, and previously measuring some neck board voltages and not understanding why I was getting some voltages that I did and what the cutoff controls were really doing and the drive controls and the screen and whether it impacted G2 and my reference is K or if my reference is ground and blah blah blah. So anyway, that's why I actually fixed one of these G07 chassis, is so I could come in and video document taking some measurements. But first, what I figured I would do is color balance it and show a gray-white balance or whatever you want to call it, and show you that process real quick. Okay, so the first thing is I dimmed the room a little bit. The room should be somewhat dark. Now, I already color balanced this, and this chassis that I was working on in a previous video, I probably need to replace the width coil. It probably still works, but it's like kind of broken or something. I'll address that later. The B plus, I can only get it to about 118. It's supposed to be about 120, but regardless, I'm not going to screw with that in this video. So what I'm going to do is just color balance this and purposely screw it up basically. And if you can see, I'm going to turn off my chassis, my TPG. I am going to turn all of my cutoff controls all the way counterclockwise. And then my drive controls, I'm going to make sure they're centered. And I think, damn it, I turned off the lights too soon. Alright, so my drive controls are supposed to be centered. Now this is the procedure per the G07 setup guide. My B plus is good. Drive, screen, all the way counterclockwise. Alright, so now, if I can turn off this damn light. So what we're going to do, you see that screen right there, is we're just going to turn up our screen adjustment till we get our first color. Okay, and it's blue. And I just want it just to get a little hint of color, just like that. Okay, now that is a lot brighter on your screen than on mine. And then we're going to turn the RGB. Okay, yeah. We're going to turn our red cutoff control just till we get it to be kind of like the first hint here. Whoop, right there. You guys can barely see it, but on mine, that's it right there. And then we're going to turn up our green cutoff until we get a gray image. And that's pretty much it. Now that still looks blue in your screen. Maybe I should turn it up a little bit more, the red. No, it still looks blue for you guys. But for me, it's pretty much gray. And then if I hit my TPG on, now we are fully color balanced, and I will show that by going through here. The whites look great. You see my grayscale is perfect. I have black, gray, light gray, white. I mean, my colors look pretty good. Red, green. Should I turn green up a little bit? No, I think that's good. It was good. I just screwed it up probably. Alright, so there is that. Go through. I mean, look at that. It looks fantastic. Red, green, blue. Red, green, blue. And it looks yellowish on your colors, but this in person, this is green. I don't know, whatever the video camera is doing. Grayscale looks real good. I can actually turn down my flyback just a tad, I think. Gray, white. Alright, and we're looking good. Okay? So let me pause, turn the lights back on, and we're just going to leave it on like that with the video signal going. What we can do is, first off, we can check our heater voltage, which are these two pins right here. Hopefully this comes out okay. I'm trying to get everything in the frame here. So heater voltage should be AC volts, as you can see there. And I'm just going to come to my two leads right here, and you get nothing between H9 and H10. There is no heater voltage, and we know that that's not the case, because without heater voltage, nothing would heat up the cathodes, nothing would emit, the barium or whatever, electrons, and there would be no colors on the screen. So what I read in the thread, and I'll link to the thread, is that this is kind of like a pulse, and my meter is expecting like 60 hertz. And can I change? Yes, this is my hertz measurement. Let me see if I can measure frequency or something. But my meter's expecting 60 hertz. See, and it's 15 kilohertz. So that's why I believe that you're not able to get an AC reading with a regular digital voltmeter. I'll try a different one, but this is a pretty good voltmeter, and it's not able to get the AC voltage because it's expecting at 60 hertz. And if I measure the hertz between H9 and H10, is 15.7 kilohertz. So that's obviously why I'm not getting a reading there. Okay, so now let's change to DC volts. And maybe somebody watching the video can tell me like how the hell I'm supposed to measure heater voltage. I have no freaking idea. I just know I can't do it with this. Okay, so thanks to my friends at KLOV, learned a little bit more about the heater voltage thing. So I'm going to splice this back into the film here. And a couple things. One is, let's see here. We verified that the frequency was like 15.7K, right? 15 kilohertz. And this meter, this Bremen, can only really measure up to around 400 hertz from a waveform. It is true RMS, but it can only do about 400 mega of bandwidth, 400 hertz, I mean, for the AC stuff. And I also have my oscilloscope, Tech 2336A, which both has an isolated ground on this side to measure voltages. On the right side, it's got a built-in digital voltmeter, true RMS up to 20K, and we could also do it with a probe. Now the monitor is on, it is isolated, so there's no, I could probe it with this, but we're going to try to use the DC measurement, or the AC. Let's see. I think I can do AC. I've never tried. Yeah, AC. AC, RMS, something, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think that should be it. But, so what do I want to do? I think I want to show that we can measure AC voltage. The other thing is you do not want this to be on auto. This is in a low impedance mode when you have that on auto, and I think I was measuring, we want to get that range off. Get it off of auto so we can measure AC. And we're going to come right here. Basically we get nothing, right? And just to show that it's on, I'm going to come to ground, go to my G2. Oh, change it to DC volts, get off of auto. So I had it on auto, which is low impedance mode, and I think oh, I gotta change my range now. There we go. That might have been loading the circuit. Alright, so I have my oscilloscope hooked up, and this is a true RMS voltage AC, and I'm going between pin H9 and H10, and we're getting about 5.6 volts. Now, usually, you know, when we test these tubes in the tube restorer, it's saying that it should be 6.3, which is kind of interesting. I wonder if I should put this on the scope just to see what it looks like with a 10 times probe. It does say, you know, 400 volts is the peak, so you want to be careful. You definitely don't want to use this input for the whatever. What am I trying to say? For the high volt, you know, for the G2 voltage, because obviously that'd be too much. You want it to be less than that. Or is that just enough? Do we need to see the waveform? I'm kind of tempted to do it. I mean, it's isolated. I should be fine. I've never done it before. I'm going to do it. Alright, so I have my channel 1 or X hook up here. I'm going to measure first frequency with my voltmeter, and we'll get the readout on the little crystal display thing there. Oh, where's my dang it? Frequency 15.7, so exactly what we saw with our other voltmeter. And then to measure AC voltage, we need to put our functions out, AC RMS on, and channel 1 for voltage. If I was out, it would be using the side like we just had. So let's see what we get here. Basically the same, 0.556, which is 5 volts because I'm on a 10 multiplier, so 5.5 volts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so it goes down a little bit, but it's mostly up. So if you look, that's at 0 volts, I assume. That's my little line there. And peak to peak, right? 1, I'm just counting here because I can't point while holding this thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's it? 1, 2. 1, 2. I don't know how to read that damn thing. But anyway, we know it's 5.5 volts, so. Alright, I think that's it. I'm just going to interject that the heater voltage is around 5.5 volts based off of the Tektronix measurements. Usually when you're testing them in a tube rejuvenator, it's 6.3 volts. But I guess this heater voltage, I don't know. When would you want to measure heater voltage? If you're not getting enough heater voltage, you're not, you know, emitting the electrons. You could have a heater booster. But this is a brand new flyback, actually. They have these things called, I think, heater boosters. Like in the old days, for CRTs, they would actually, if the tube was dying, you would get this CRT heater, you know, voltage bump thing. I can't explain it very well, but it basically bumps the heater voltage so that the cathode would heat up more and therefore emit more electrons. But it, you know, ultimately destroys the tube, I guess. But it's kind of like a quick fix, or temporary fix, I guess, to extend the life of a tube. I've never seen those done on an arcade monitor, but here we have the transformer, the flyback, exporting the, I don't know what I'm talking about, rambling on. That's it. Let me get back to measuring some other voltages. So with so now we can figure out, like, what's our G2 and what adjusts it, right? I know my stuff is color balanced perfectly. My screen is set up right. But the screen adjusts G2. So if I put my black lead on ground, which is the frame, I have 448 volts. But really, G2 voltage is a positive voltage as measured to K, which is the red cathode, the blue cathode, and the green cathode. And I kind of picked this up off of my CR7000. I don't really understand what I'm doing. I'm just kind of describing it and then measuring it, and you guys can educate me maybe. So I'm going to put my reference lead, my black lead, on blue K, and my G2, and I get 331 volts. And after I take my reference lead to RK, 338 versus 331 versus, where's my GK? Right there. Shit, gotta be careful. 341. Okay, so I'm at different voltages in as reference to K. G2 has different voltages, and you can do the same thing with G1. So my G1 voltage is a negative bias, right, to K. So if I put my reference lead on K, I get negative 161, no, 164, RK, negative 139. So like basically what this is saying is, you know, the blue G1 is pulling on blue because that's really the first color we saw. So it's pulling those electrons back, holding them back harder so that we could have good, proper, you know, gray and white scale. And you can see that because based off my cutoff controls, blue cathode reference to G1 is higher than R. And then where's my green? Green is 152, red 149. So basically you would expect that my green and red guns aren't as strong as my blue guns. Really, that's the ultimate thing that we're able to determine here just based off of doing this little test here. Now, if I crank up my screen voltage, we're just going to do a measurement from reference ground to G2. All right, 448. If I turn it all the way down to counterclockwise, I get 270. Turn it all the way up, 681 volts. That's a lot of voltage. All right, sorry, somebody was coming downstairs. But so now I think I'm back where I pretty much was. In reference to ground, G2 is 438, and then you can reference it to K, which is really ultimately what you want to do. 340 to R, 330 to blue, blah, blah, blah. All right, so let me measure all my Ks in reference to ground. So RK, 155, BK, 163, GK, 155. And let me change my red drive full clockwise. And what did that change? 147? See if that changed anything. I'm changing my red drive in reference to ground. Now it's full counterclockwise. 149 versus 147. That doesn't seem like it changed anything with K. That's full clockwise. RK. 129. Now I need to keep track of this myself. All right, what we got going on here? Why, man, it looks like it's decreasing. What the hell's going on? All right, 156. Okay, maybe I didn't have good connections on it. 155. Oh, I know why it's changing. I got my TPG on. Maybe I should turn it off. I'm going to turn off the signal, so it should just be a black screen. And let's go to RK. 146, nice and stable, right? Nice and stable because I don't have a signal coming in. And I should have probably done that before all my measurements, but whatever. RK, 146. All right, let's turn it full counterclockwise, my red drive. $152. Not much of a difference, if anything. 152 to 146. All right, let's do our GK full clockwise. 146. Full counterclockwise. 152. Not much of a difference. All right, so I'm going to leave those full counterclockwise. Now, well, I'm getting kind of, I'm a little bit lost what I should do here. Let's check our G1 to RK voltage. 152, 153, 159. Let's leave this counterclockwise. Everything, all our cutoffs are counterclockwise, and we're doing reference to G1 with no signal. 159, red, 162, green, 161. All right, and then if I increase red full counterclockwise in reference to G1, red, negative 122. So it's basically, as I turn my cutoff clockwise, I'm decreasing the negative bias to G1. So G1's pulling, less hard, if you will. Now I'm going to do the same thing with blue. Blue is currently at negative 158. And if I turn blue full counterclockwise in reference, G1 in reference to blue now is about 118. So your cutoffs are adjusting, as far as I know, your negative bias. I don't know if your G2s are necessarily adjusting full everything counterclockwise again on the cutoff. If your drive is adjusting it to your G2. So let's full counterclockwise on our drive, and we're going to go reference to red to G2 326. Now let's turn our red, make sure I don't short anything out, all the way up our red drive, all the way up, and in reference to K 330. Damn it, I forgot what the hell I was doing. 330, okay. All the way down. G2 in reference to K. 330 versus 326. It's still like only a 4-volt difference to drive. I don't know, I have to look at the schematic, and for some reason I was thinking the drive would be a little bit more than that, but maybe not. What the hell does drive do? I'm not sure. All right, let's check in reference to green K. Where's GK? Let's check our G2. 326. And we'll turn it all the way up. 326. Remember that number. 326. I'm going to turn it all the way clockwise. 326. GK to G2. 331. Why is it? Shouldn't be negative. No, I have it. My lead's reversed. Duh. Oh, one of the things Richard said is never use G2 as your ground reference. Well, it depends on what you're measuring it in relationship to. Obviously, it doesn't. Anyway, whatever. Okay, it's not a ground reference. It's obviously a reference. GK is my reference, and G2 is my voltage. 331 compared to, what did I say? 326, I think, right? 326, I think so. G2 green, 327. Yeah, so again, only about a 4-volt difference. When you're using your drive adjusters on your red and green. But anyway, that's all I wanted to show. I can't measure. You can't measure heater voltage, not with this meter. It's different frequency, and I think that's what somebody on the KLOV said. And hopefully, this is a quick video, and that's all I got. Cheers.